This is the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metrics Card. Hello, all. Welcome back to the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of Metrics Card. I'm your host, Shrestha, and today it's a little bit different today. We've been having digital e-commerce guests joining from the US and UK all this while, and today we have an Indian guest joining us to give us fresh insights into the e-commerce space here. We have Meghna Duri joining us as the head of e-commerce at Fab. And very warm welcome to you, Meghna. And we would love to hear about your journey. Most of the guests who come here say that they came into the e-commerce space by sheer accident. So, what's been your journey like?
Hi, Shrestha. Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here. Yes, actually, like most of your guests, my journey to e-commerce was also by accident. So earlier, when I started my career, I was primarily in strategy and planning roles, where I worked directly with founders or business heads, and I was working with them. But actually, so when had to relocate to Mumbai because I was getting married, and that is when I started talking to founders again. I was looking for similar kinds of roles, and that's when I met the founder of Open Secret, and where she sort of told me that, listen, we don't really have broad problems, but quick commerce is something that's picking up for us, as well as I think alternate channels. So she's like, why don't you come and take a shot at this?
Right.
And that's how I got in. So at that point, quick commerce was completely new, and I realized that everything I've learned really helped, right? Because as a whole in general is also a mix of so many different things. It's not just sales. There's sales, there's marketing. You need to understand supply chain really well. You understand finance. So I think everything that I learned really helped me right there because it helped me develop like a great approach to the entire quick com space. And eventually, from when I was handling quick commerce for about 6 months. And then I got to go the entire e-com space also, like your Amazon, everything. And that's when I got a complete understanding as well. Yeah.
Interesting. So, the transition from quick com to e-com, how was it? Tell us about that.
Okay, so I think with quick commerce, because quick commerce at that time was just starting out, right? So I got into it in 2021, and quick commerce just started out in 2020. And with the COVID pandemic, quick com in India boomed. Everybody was using it because it's convenient. You can't really go out. You're scared to go out, but it just became so convenient. And what happened is that there were a few key players there, and everyone was figuring out what needs to be done. So every platform was so different. There was no data also. We would actually get sales data once in a month. That's all. So we were operating blind most of the time. So a lot of it was just based on relationship management, figuring out, I think. And what the fun part was, I think at that time, is figuring it out with the channel partners.
Right.
So everyone's in it together. Nobody's really an expert. You're all figuring out, you're all trying to understand what works. Now versus the whole e-com space, which is a very mature space. And you have so much data that you can also work with, right? Like when I first got into started looking at Amazon, and I was so shocked with how much data that comes in. And I was like, wow, I have control over everything. This is brilliant.
Yes.
Yes. So, but of course, it's a completely different challenge that you have so much data. It's about how you use the data and how you manage to target the right customers. So, it's again a completely new battle there.
Awesome. Now coming to Fab, it started out as an offline brand and then moved digital. So what is the story of Fab? How did it evolve? Tell us about it.
Yeah. So, Fab was basically founded by Gayatri and Ankit Chona. So they come from a legacy ice cream brand, and when they started Fab, basically, I think coming from a brand that they built throughout generations in India, the way they've built Fab, and something I admire about Fab is that they got the foundation right. Right, they were clear that they're like, okay, we want to bring health is a concern in India. We want to bring taste plus health. We also want to address a very big problem, which is the protein problem, because 18% of Indians are protein deficient. So that's a huge number. So they're like, okay, this is a very relevant problem. They also have a great understanding of the Indian customer. They're like, we have to bring taste. Without taste, no one's really going to. You're limiting your entire target audience of people who are willing to sacrifice something for health. So that way, they got the product right, And because so once they got the product, right, the first thing that they did, because they know well also, was offline. So they started off as an offline brand, and then we started building up an online presence.
Yeah.
So when I joined and I came in, it actually was so easy for me to build something online, because most D2C brands that come in start off online, right? So when you go and when you're trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what are the flavors, you're starting from scratch.
Right.
But actually, when you go from an offline brand to an online brand, you already know what works. You know what's the cities, you know where it works, what kind of an audience. So that really gave me a great launch pad to just jump off from, to only go higher. So that was something that really helped. Yeah.
I think it's all about the foundations, right? Like you mentioned, they got it right, so it was easy to go digital.
Correct. Absolutely. I think, and they've also, something that they've done, I think, is really experimented with different kind of formats also, right?
Yeah.
So something that they want to do with Fab was, so again, so Gayatri is a nutritionist as well. So it stemmed from something that she knew a lot of her clients faced, is that, okay, I figure out how to eat healthy for my meals, but how do I solve snacking?
Exactly. Yeah.
How do I eat something that's sweet, that but still healthy, something that will give me an added bonus? And that's how Fab also came in, that we never want to be a meal replacement.
Mm.
We want to give you that addition to your diet that will give you a boost, that will help you in your nutrition journey and in your fitness journey. And that's how we look at it also. So the whole point of how Fab works as well is how we integrate into the lifestyle.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that we have done via the kind of different formats that we have. So
Good.
though we've launched protein bars, we actually launched shakes, and shakes is something that is new to India. Not too many brands do it.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we're still building out in categories, because it's a small category compared to like a protein powder or a protein bar category. It's a very small category, but it's we've seen good response. We are actually launched more variants and everything. So that is something that's working for us.
So nice. So again, like you mentioned, it's just not about nutrition. The products of Fab is also about building a lifestyle. So how do you engage with consumers, not just with the product, but also like, the kind of storytelling that you would do from all channels and levels?
Okay. So I think the easiest way to, when you can tell a story, is of course your own, on your social media and everything, right? So
Yeah.
one thing that we've understood a lot from our customers is that see, everyone is on a different journey for themselves. Everyone is on their own fitness journey. And how we also showcase Fab is in any format is that, it's your on the go protein. It's a kind of communication that we do. It's on the go protein. It's easy. Like we also had a tagline called Aaj ka protein liya kya, which is basically, have you taken your protein for the day?
Exactly. Yeah.
So things like this, which really resonated with the audience, and campaigns like this, which really helped, because then people are also able to imagine how to integrate our products into their daily lifestyle, right? And it's
Yeah.
how you show it also. Like we show a busy mom. Like this is also based on real customers. Customers who come back and say, "Listen, I'm a busy mom. I get so tired. I don't have time to eat properly. I mean, I'm just grabbing whatever I can. But because I'm able to rely on your bars, it's great for me." So, and we're like, okay, great. Like now that we understand customer stories, we also use that to sort of fine tune our communication better as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is so important, right? Like listening very closely to your consumers and integrating that message into your marketing channels as well. So, how does it go when you're trying to launch a new product? How do you manage that?
Okay, so I think that's very relevant question, because as a young brand, we are definitely been launching a lot of new products, because we're also figuring out what works. So a lot actually goes into launching the product first, from the whole ideation stage itself, right? We try to understand what is the kind of problem that we're solving. So, for example, now I mentioned protein shakes. So, when we were launching a new variant of protein shakes, so feedback that we had gotten, this is actually especially offline.
Yeah.
Feedback that we got from the offline team was that now customers do want to buy something healthier, but maybe the price point is a little bit too much, right? So they want a healthier option, but they might want something a little less priced.
Mm.
So we dive deeper into this problem again, because we have a lot of love for this. So we deep dived and we understood that, okay, now these are people who might not be looking at this for just meeting their protein goals. They just want a milkshake, but they don't want to have a sugary milkshake.
Exactly.
They want a tasty milkshake, but that has added health benefits. So that's how we came into the whole launching a low protein variant of a milkshake. That's the first step, is identifying who we are going to talk to. Now that we understood that, okay, this is a lower price point, we went big on flavors. Because we're like, okay, it has to be indulgent and it has to be tasty. So we launched pistachio flavor, we launched coffee tiramisu and kulfi caramel. So very yummy tasty. Yeah. So these were, and I would love to send you some also. Yeah, I'll send you a few of our products and things.
Definitely. Would love to try.
And so once we were figuring out that, okay, now we know that price point we've hit, now that we know the need that we're actually filling in that they want. So that's when we focused on taste. Now the third thing is, and then we focused on the whole launch plan. So this,
Yeah.
what really helps is understanding what the customer wants. That actually does half the job for us, right? Because then the packaging is fun, it's colorful, because you know who you're talking to. So then when we launched to also, the kind of photos that we did, the kind of integrations that we do are along the same lines. So same way, now when we launch it, there are two ways to launch. We, of course, we launched it on our own website where we started running ads, we started showing how yummy it was, started focusing on that taste angle a lot. Of course, and I think what we also built is that, yes, Fab is a healthy brand,
Yep.
but this product specifically is very taste first.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the same communication goes across all platforms for us.
Interesting. So, who are the main age demographics and people who shop Fab mostly?
Okay, so majority of our customers are below 25 actually, and all of is below 35.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really cool to build brand loyalty, right? Going down the lane. Yeah.
And we're seeing great repeat, right? We're also seeing repeats of like average of 30%, but in some products it goes to 40%. And for a brand of our, which is only 8 months old in the digital space, to see this kind of loyalty is great for us also, because we're like, oh, we're growing, but our loyalty and our repeat is not going down. And that's
Right.
insane. So the thing that made us so happy.
I know.
Yeah.
What is getting you more traction? Is it the shakes, the ones that you launched at the beginning, or the ones that you launched digitally as such?
So I think right now we've just launched this month, so it's a little too soon to tell. We because we're still it's still new. We were getting good feedbacks from it, but of course there are loyalists who will love the older shakes that we have. But when I look at overall Fabka portfolio, protein bars is actually still our best sellers. Mainly, that's also primarily because it's a format that most people are used to eating.
Exactly.
Yes, protein.
It's been in the market for some time now.
Yeah, it's been in the market. There are also very established players in the market already. So we're used to this format of having a protein bar, and protein shake is still something new that people are figuring out. So I think right now it's the bars that are best.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, since you're in the brand world, and this is a question that I ask all my guests, what does a successful product page look like, and what must it have?
I think so successful
I
product.
know it's very hard to narrow it down to this, but yeah, maybe what works in this particular category.
Yeah. See, I think honestly, what it needs to do for me is make you want to have eat the product in the food category. That's the basic, right? Does it make you want to eat the product or not? So, okay, so something that we've experimented. So actually rebuilt our website also 8 months ago, and we've been understanding and experimenting. And what we've realized is also that now this category, when it comes to the healthy food category, there are a lot of opinions out there. There are too many people and there's too much information. So people, what we have seen is that people don't want so much education, right? They want it simplified.
Yeah.
We want to simplify it for them. We just want to be clear with them that, you know what, you get what we we will deliver what we promise.
Yeah.
So we're very clear that
Is it something particular to the Indian audience? Because in the US, we see that they want everything detailed. They want everything so specific. What are the ingredients? How much percent is it? So, is there such a difference? What do you see?
I think it's possible. So we do have all of these details, but it's not going to be what we hit you with first.
Exactly.
We're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
maybe there is a difference here because
Mhm.
you're right. Possible that right now, maybe it's also a difference because you India, what we've also seen is that when I've done events, also when
Mhm.
so the latest event I did was at a corporate gym. Now everyone wants to taste it first, and then they check the back of pack. Oh, how much sugar does it have? But the taste is is the deciding factor.
Interesting.
You're like, "Yeah, it's okay if it has like a little bit of sugar, but tastes so good, it's fine." That- So maybe as a market, there is a difference there. Definitely.
Yeah. Interesting. Um,
Coming back to your question, actually. So
yes.
yes, I think we focus on what works for us. I think for Fab specifically, or in this space,
Mm.
is simplifying what we deliver. We don't want to overcomplicate things. We don't want the confuse consumer. See, we've spent a lot of effort to get the consumer onto our product page, right? And assuming they have done some sort of they have an understanding of the brand. At this point, we want to keep it very simple, like this is the product, this is what it offers, make it look attractive. And something that we believe, and I think that works with Fab also, is that we're very value for money, we're price competitive, we're not going to overcharge for the sake of it, and we're very clear about that also.
Interesting. When it comes to reviews and user-generated content, how much of those aspects or insights from them gets integrated into the marketing, supply chain, product innovation for Fab?
100%. I think
You
we
just mentioned also about the mall. Okay.
customer obsessed, I think. And you have to be. I think every D2C brand needs to be customer obsessed
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, it's a team of what 20 people here who are, and we don't represent the entire audience that we are speaking to right now. We honestly don't even know the entire audience. We might know majority and we might know a few metrics, but listening to every customer feedback is very important. So what we do, of course, like I've already told you the story of how we have managed to tweak and we'll how do we make our content relatable, but we also look at their feedback on flavor, feedback on everything to keep tweaking our products.
Yeah.
And there's actually someone, so for our, we have a mango milkshake
Mm.
and we had discontinued that milkshake actually.
Mm.
And not discontinued, but we thought, okay, summer season is over, maybe people won't be that interested in buying. So we had reduced our production and we were focusing on other products.
Yeah.
That
We
we
have
had
more seasonal also, right?
Yes, yeah, and that's what was the feedback we got from everyone also all up chat. So we're like, okay, this guy actually called us and said that his dad only drinks the mango milkshake. We don't recommend that.
Yeah.
Said we drink that and I'm not able to find it. Can you please ship these X 200 bottles?
Yeah. Oh my God, that is so sweet.
Yeah, so I think stuff like that, I think helps us also understand that, see, we don't know anything in everything about this. So we bought the milkshake back. We realized it's not, of course, there's a slight dip because it's seasonal, but it's not like the sales have stopped. So that was great for us. Similarly, with our, so protein powder is also something we've launched recently. And that is also something where we took so much customer feedback to understand, right? Because we understand that and this is a completely different category also for us, but because normally when you're talking about bars and shakes, it's something that a lot of everyday people are okay with having. It's not just a gym bro
Exactly.
category, like how people perceive protein powder too, but that's also changing, and that's something we notice that, okay, our audience is also consuming protein powder. That's what we were understanding. We're like, we like your products, but your protein powder could be improved. So we took that one as a challenge. We've made it better and we've relaunched it. So that way, completely customer obsessed. I think everyone listens to anyone else. Yes.
That is true. I think it kind of plays out a challenge for legacy brands. They find it very difficult because they were operating in a physical store format and now they want to move digital. So they don't know how to tackle the problem of customer centricity differently right now. So it must be a little bit more easier on new age brands, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think it also helps that we're more agile, right? Like it's a small and when it's a small team, when there's a there are pros and cons to not having such stringent processes, but when you don't, like anybody can walk up to our founder and say that, listen, this is what the customer said. I think changed it, and everyone takes it seriously.
Yeah.
So there's no chain that people actually go through. And I think something else that is definitely helps us with because we can tweak our products much faster based on what customers
Exactly.
want.
Yeah.
We understand their needs and we're like, oh, you need this. Let me figure out if I can do it. I will do it for you. Yeah.
Yes, makes sense. Now you spoke about quick commerce at the beginning, and you have a great amount of experience there, and it's really evolving fast in India. How do you think it's changing the consumer buying pattern here?
Yeah. I think impulse purchases have gone up quite a lot.
Yeah.
The way we market also changes, right? Like earlier, maybe we something right now. Earlier, when you buy something online, it was a very considered purchase.
Yeah.
You would read a lot about it, you would understand, you would go deep, and then you purchase it.
Right.
And also because when you're buying, let's say you're buying on like an Amazon or you're buying from our own website, you can't really buy something for 50 rupees because it doesn't make sense. The AOV is not met, so
Yeah.
it doesn't work out. But on the whole quick commerce platform, you get it in 10 minutes. You're able to try out and try so many new brands that I think the consumer is now so open to everything. They're open to trying out a new brand as long as it sounds good. And actually, you mentioned user generation content, right? Reviews.
Yeah.
So a biggest lever that we have seen that works for us on QuickCom actually
Mhm.
is working with not just influencers, but also just when we get when let's say someone who is an influencer on social media organically puts up a post,
Yeah.
tries it out and put it up, and we see that direct impact on QuickCom because they're like, oh, okay, like this person I really admire and follow is doing it, so let me just try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something that we're seeing and that is the biggest change. People are open, people want to try something new, and that's also where brands can capitalize the most, right? And
Exactly.
yeah. And what's also changed is that now, obviously, the QuickCom platforms have evolved. It's not the case where you're getting data once a month. You've got sophisticated dashboards. You can target consumers in the best way. You can target repeat buys. You do focused cohorted sampling. So that way, they're also making it very easy for brands to just actually something that you do on a meta where there's this running code that you just have to tell your phone something and automatically ads will come.
Yeah.
I think based on your browsing patterns, what you actually see on these platforms also change.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Uh, how do you see brands can kind of adapt to these changes for quick commerce?
right. So I think the biggest thing that they had to change was the supply chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you are now in your traditional model of retail, you are used to just supplying to a distributor in a region,
Mm.
and a distributor takes care of your entire supply chain.
Mm.
But now brands have to build that capability in house where you actually have to deliver, obviously not to a dark store, but you have to deliver to different hubs because you
Exactly.
want to be present. That's the biggest, and I think a very difficult change that has come in. It's also led to a lot of startups in India for the same reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's the first thing. Now, second thing has been with the kind of packaging also, right?
Mm.
Now, it doesn't really make. Now, I think when we launch, we figure out what the AOV needs to be based on what the AOV for that channel should be to make
Exactly.
it profitable,
Yeah.
right? Because earlier, at the end of the day, every business wants to be profitable, and we also have to set where the customer is going. So, if more customers are going to quick commerce, you have to figure out how to increase your AOV. So,
Mm.
it doesn't really make sense for a smaller brand. Let's say, of course, when you're a PepsiCo, it's different, but when
Yes.
you're a smaller brand, it doesn't really make sense to sell a packet of chips for let's say 30 or 40 bucks because
Right.
it's small, it's volumetric. So this is a challenge we faced at Open Secret also, where we launched a product for the offline market,
Yeah.
which is a great product, 20 rupees millets. But on the online market, we face so much resistance because they said that listen, give me a 60 rupee larger pack, I will take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my cost of delivery does not make sense on this product. So that is something that people are figuring out the kind of packaging and the kind of how to change
Assumptions.
assortment just for Quickcom now, which is of course I think great for the customer also and great for these channels as well. And lastly, when it comes to marketing, you have to be creative here, right? It's
Right.
a mixture of search, It's a mixture of the kind of display ads. It's a lot of targeting. And what has now happened is similar to Amazon. You have so much data, but you also have so many different ways to touch point with the customer now.
Right.
I think that is where people, and it's a very exciting time, right? Because now, if let's say I have an X amount of budget, I can figure out, do I want to put it on search, which will give me a direct ROAS? Do I want to put it on display ads, which will give me a longer term? Or should I just use sampling straight up?
Hmm.
So it's quite an exciting time also.
Definitely.
I think balancing that, and it's an evolving field as well. So
Yeah.
exciting.
You're always learning.
Yes, exactly.
So we have almost come to the end of the session, and what's next for Fab? You did mention that you had new launches. Tell us more.
Yes. So I think with FAM, something that we've keyed in on is the snacking space, right? We like the snacking space. We understand, of course, protein is a deficient. It is India is a protein deficient market, and parallel. So what we want to focus on is figuring out how to launch these products that fit into the consumer's lifestyle and become easy swaps for them.
Right. Yeah.
So, for example, we tried an experiment with Burfi during Diwali. So we did protein burfis, sugar-free protein burfis, which worked really well, right? Because we saw consumer love there. So I think that's where we're trying to go deeper. We're trying to experiment with different formats. We're trying to understand how we can. So the basic idea for us is to go to the consumers and give them what they want.
Exactly. Be very direct.
Yes.
What excites you about the future of the health and nutrition category or trends in India? What is the state?
So I think my journey with with ecom is parallel to my journey with the whole health and nutrition space. So that's it's great for me. So I think I joined again at a very nascent stage where people were just like, okay, if it's sugar free, it's healthy. So I love how the whole consumer has now changed to understand what health is.
Yeah.
They have also come to a point where people have realized that health is different for everybody, right? What is healthy for me might not be healthy for you. And now that we also see a lot of brands just focusing on solving such specific problems, and that's why I think it's quite exciting right now that you see brands that are just focusing on gut issues, brands that are focusing on just making sure that if you have PCOD, you're having the right kind of hormonal health. And it's great. Like, that's what it's exciting, is that everyone is now picking up what would have been thought of as niche issues earlier, but turns out there's a vast audience for them.
Definitely.
So I think it's a great time right now because everyone has a solution for all the problems or someone's working on it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Meghna, for joining us. This was such a wonderful session talking with you, and your the debut episode for a Indian guest on the show. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rishta. It was amazing. Thank you, Har.
Yeah. We've come to the end of the episode. If you loved what you just listened to, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back next Monday with a really awesome guest. Stay tuned until then.